Hey, I got a bunch of VCRs I want to look at, so why not make a whole month of it and call it something stupid like VCR-uary. Let's start with this massive behemoth. This is an older RCA top-loading VCR from, oh boy, I want to say 80 or 81. I'll put the actual year there. This is the VFT-650. And yeah, I know, it's missing the door. This bugs me more than a lot of stuff on these, but hey, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I saw this at the thrift store, and usually when I see something that I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat, but I don't buy it either because it's too expensive or I don't need it, I take a picture of it and post it online like a weirdo because, yeah, it's cool, it's fun, it's a memory. So I did, back when it was $20. And then it came back and they had put an $8.49 sticker on it. And at that point, temptation got the better of me. What's funny is that this exact model showed up at a different Value Village, I think within a week or two, and it was in much better shape. This top door wasn't busted. This door was present for $20. And someone else I know locally picked it up. So, oh well. And the only reason I didn't pick that one up is I already bought this, and I'm like, I can't bring two of the exact same model home. So anyway, yeah, it's a VFT-650 made by Panasonic. I believe this will be a 4-head model, but it's mono. Has a wireless remote, although I didn't get that. I have a few, I'm sure that'll work. This is about the closest one I have to it, although this is for basically the next year's model, where it's got different search speeds and everything. The remote for this model is a little bit more basic. And then I have these for much newer front-loading Panasonics that I've done past videos on. So yeah, one of these should be able to work for testing it out. But for now, let's power it on. I think I powered it on in the store. Yes, I did. And it does work. And if we turn power on, all right, no tuner. I thought the tuner did work when I was there. Okay. Oh, it's in camera. There's a tuner camera switch on the front here. There we go. Now I've got the tuner, and it does appear to change channels. That flickering is just a multiplexing on the segments. In real life, it's nice and smooth and not flickery. The end of tape sensor lamp, which is incandescent in these older models, does appear to work. Let's see what it does. Now I'll just pop a tape in. I'm sure it's not going to work, but I want to see what it actually does. So let's do fast forward. What? No. Rewind? Nope. But that's still, that's impressive as hell. What about play? This is probably going to destroy the tape, but hey. It's putting the tape back in the cassette. That's good. I'm still just going to fast forward to make sure there's no excess tape outside the cassette before I eject. But yeah, so far I'm impressed. I mean, why, I don't know why I'm always impressed with these things. The fact that it does anything. There's probably a bunch of dried rubber or hardened rubber and dried grease. So let's open it up and see. How does this attach? Oh, it attaches on the side. There's screws. Okay. Well, I thought I'd skip right to the inside here, just to make sure these belts are good enough before I continue messing around. So let's take a look. First off, Jesus Christ, that is, yeah. So when you hear people talk about modern, late 90s, early 2000s VCRs in positive light, it's because they don't have this, right? When something goes wrong, this is a nightmare. And we can argue all day about how these are well built, they're solid, they're, meant to be serviced. they're just less reliable. They were less reliable when they're new. They're less reliable now. We have a bit of survivorship bias. The ones that are still around, that are still working, we go, wow, this is still working many years later. But for every 40-year-old VCR we find that's working, there's like 1,000 in a landfill or 2,000 in a landfill somewhere because they all died and were irreparable or fell apart or whatever. The same, I guess, could be said with the newer ones, like the early 2000s cheap Funai VCRs. When those were new, God, the returns on those things. I remember taking back so many. Like for every 10 that were sold to customers, probably half, 5, 6 of those would come back. Just dead right away, like within the return period. They were junk. But the ones that have survived, that were built to spec, within tolerance and, don't have any issues from, poor quality at the factory, flimsy material manufacturing, whatever, the ones that work, they work fine. I mean, they're not high performers, but they still work. And there's so few parts inside, there's not much to break. As opposed to all of this. Like I could just twiddle one of these controls and fuck a whole bunch of stuff up in here. Anyway, let's get back to the belts. Ow! Pokey bits. It appears that this is a direct drive capstan, which is very nice. And this would be for the reel tables are direct drive too. So this must be for loading, maybe the loading mechanism. Do not use excessive force to turn this pulley, as breakage may occur. So this is directly driving the loading and unloading. Oh, okay. So yeah, so if this gets jammed, the belt slips. So this is belt drive for loading, and it's double belt. So it's this one going to here, gear down, and then going to here. So this is probably what's slipping when it's trying to load a tape. And what's probably not working in rewind is just this old pulley's probably all grease is dried up and the tire might be hardened. I'm gonna plug it in, pop a tape in, and let's watch this thing from the top first. And I do have to say, so this is, I think I've shown this in other videos on these early Panasonics, that it's got this nice board. Whoop. It's got this nice board that hinges open. This has been properly put back together. Normally there's special color-coded screws to remove to let the service person know, okay, don't take all these screws out. And they're usually painted red on these Panasonics. And in this case, the 4 red screws were exactly where they needed to be to open this up. Nothing was stripped, everything looked very clean. The outside looks like it's, been beat up and stuff, but the inside's looking good so far. Now, which one is play? I think this one's play. Yeah, not quite enough torque to move this. I'm assuming it's the pinch roller. Let's try this again. Yep. Let's see what that looks like from the bottom. Oh. Okay, that did it. That just helped it on. It's playing. How come I got no video signal? Well, it was playing very slowly with no audio, and then the audio was very quiet and slow, and then it just popped in. So let's do like a cue. Oh, it could just be dirty heads. Well, I don't know why the RF output's so bad. It almost kind of looks like the horizontal's off. Like if you're looking at horizontal hold and it's way, way off. Something's not syncing in this mess of electronics here. But what's interesting is if I go and say fast forward scan or cue, it pops right in. Doesn't move very fast. Actually, now it doesn't appear to be moving at all. Yeah, it is, just not very fast. This is just a scene where someone's just sitting there. Is that Bruce? Oh, it's Bruce Willis. Okay, yeah. kind of look at that. And pop you back in. But when I hit play, all bets are off. And I think pause. Let's do pause. Same problem. Somewhere in here there's probably a capacitor that's gone bad. Same problem on EP. But if I were to fast forward, then it works. But see these vertical stacks that line up every once in a while? Yeah, see right there? That means that the horizontal is running too fast. So you're getting multiple images of it. I wonder if it's the video head drum.
A message from the government of Canada.
Oh, see, I got something there when I was slowing it down. Oh, what? I just realized why pause I wasn't getting an image on pause. If I hit pause, the capstan doesn't stop. It just mutes the audio, but the tape is still just going. Quick side note, I do not know how this was fast forwarding that tape, because this idler tire, this reel, is rock hard. There is like, it feels like plastic. Without a tape in there, it'll spin both reel tables, but there is no torque there at all. At all. So if I were to figure out what the problem is with the video, the horizontal in the video, oh hey, it looks like this bulb was replaced. That screw doesn't look fresh, that looks mangled. But anyway, yeah, if I were to get that video working, then this definitely has to be replaced, because that's pooched. Well, my theory is going to be the video head drum servo. It feels like that's the most likely culprit for this video problem, this video head drum running too slow. I don't have like a tack or anything, because I'm not an automotive guy, to be able to check to see what the speed is. That would be very actually useful. All right, I have made progress. Let me show you what I have found. So I followed the head drum motor wires down into this little board here, and then I followed those wires all the way up, because it goes through this little motor control board. It goes all the way up, all the way over here, this wire bundle. Let's lift that up. And then it goes to this control, or this connector right here. So this is the section that determines the speed that we need, and then that's the control board for the motor that makes it happen, I'm assuming. Now, I'm lazy, so I'm going to do the wet finger trick. And watch what happens when I get my finger, I don't remember where exactly around here, so we're just going to kind of wing it. It was in this general area though. Damn, I wish the camera was rolling when I did that last time. Oh, there it is, right there. Right there. Now the capstan clearly isn't locking, but we have video. Take a look here, right beside this control IC. See it says C20 there? If I sit my finger on it, I can get a picture. So let's pop that capacitor out and see what it looks like. Well, I think that might not be the source of the problem. I narrowed it down more, and it's not really me putting my finger over a cap. It's just a couple of pins on the IC. But it just so happens that the resistance probably resistance of my fingers, is changing some values, some voltages of those pins, just enough to change the head drum speed. But it's not actually, it's coincidence that it's enough to get a picture. See? Watch what happens when I push really hard. And now it's completely lost its mind because I sent it into like a high speed frenzy by putting too low of a resistance with my fingers. So I just happen to be hitting the sweet spot there. Like, listen to that. Let's just stop that. And we're back to the slow speed, and I can sort of bring it in here. But it appears to be like whatever this is, I think it's locking into it. It's just the information's wrong. Well, that's wild. So I tried pause again with my finger in that spot so that the video head drum is spinning at appropriate speed, and it paused, and I went, oh, okay, great. And now the capstan just doesn't spin, and it just times out. So now I've done it. It's only in pause. Oh, this thing's crazy. And now to get it to play again, I put my finger back on the chip, put it into pause, and then brought it out of pause, and with the head drum running at the correct speed, the capstan started again. Of course, now it took off, started playing spinning way too fast, but now it's working again. What the hell? So now if I hit pause, yeah, like it's not stopping. But if I hit pause and then put my finger on the chip, yeah, I can't get it to do it again. I don't know what that was about, but there's got to be a common factor here. It could be that there's just multiple problems with it. I mean, it's given the age. But I feel like there should be one common issue. Is it a voltage issue? It is a control track pulse issue? Is it specifically to do with the video head drum, and that's confusing other stuff in this machine? Yeah, I really need the service manual. Like, otherwise I'm just kind of poking around and blindly being like, is this a problem? Is this the problem? Is this the problem? And like, I don't know. Okay, this is kind of funny. Right now, the TV, the CRT television, is running at around, what, 16 kilohertz? 16.2? Which is just getting into the outer edge of my hearing. Like, it's there, but I feel it more than I hear it. However, if I go and put my finger on the chip and get the picture in here, see, it drops right down for it to sync. And all of a sudden, it's a lot louder to my ears. So I think that's funny. This TV, the horizontal oscillator, free runs very high. I'm assuming this would happen if I go to just off tune. Yep, I'm off tuned, not on a station at all. It free runs at like 16.2 or something. Is that 16.1? Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was neat. So one thing that I didn't mention when I was talking about what the possible causes could be is the power supply. So I just looked up the data sheet for this chip I've been messing around with, AN6350. It's a VTR cylinder servo control, and it looks to have an interface for the control track head, the capstan FG, the sample and hold for the head drum motor. So it kind of does everything from the looks of it. But look at that. 8.93 volts. The data sheet says 12. Oh, never mind. 9 volts seems right then. Well, I was taking a look inside and I don't know, just, sometimes you look at stuff. And I noticed, let me flip this board up. Whoa. We're doing it live. It's powered on. Don't worry, it's fine. And I noticed some purple Panasonics. So purple Panasonic capacitors kind of have a bit of a reputation in stuff built in the 70s and I think into the 80s. They were shit and they all kind of went bad. They weren't just used in Panasonics like this VCR. Sony used them. I'm sure other manufacturers did anyway. And that got me thinking, this has a whole slew of issues. What I've done is there's an adjustment on the back side of this board here for the cylinder free run. Where are we at? Normal, cylinder free run, and then slow free run. So I have twiddled this adjustment, which I didn't want to do because, oh yeah, I also tried substituting a random purple panty. Tested fine, but yeah, just wanted to see. It was kind of close to the circuit that I care about. Anyway, to get back to it, I played with the free run a little bit, and I've got it close to the free run speed that it needs to be. But here, let me get my camera synced up. It is not looking good. Got a lot of chroma noise on one of the fields. There's just a lot of noise in general. The tracking is fairly squirrely. It's just not very good. And actually, it's paused right now. Let me unpause it. There's pause here. It literally just mutes it. So we've got control issues with the main controller. We've got cylinder motor servo free run issues. And we've got a bunch of purple Panasonic capacitors. Now, all I have is my cheap little tester here. And I don't know how much I necessarily trust this. It's usually pretty good at pinpointing bad, like dead caps. But ones that are questionable, I don't know. It's hit or miss. The thing is, my old one was actually really good and very accurate. This one seems to be like, not, I don't know, I don't trust it as much. So here we have a 220 microfarad 16 volt cap. And what I notice is sometimes, on really good caps with ESR, it doesn't give me a number, it just gives me 0. But it's testing high, which usually indicates it's bad, but usually that coincides with bad ESR. And, I've tested bad caps on this. It definitely shows them. Here's a 220 at 60 that measures at 36 microfarad. And let's get a view of the actual, oh my god, this thing's filthy. Here it is. 220/16. It's a dirty purple Panasonic, and then here's the 220 at 16 out of this VCR. So this tests at 250, that tests at 36. This was an actual bad cap, so I don't know. I'm thinking it's capacitors, so I'm just gonna go through and check any purple capacitor in this general area here where the head drum motor servo seems to live. It's going to be good when it takes forever to test. Yeah, there it is. And I think that's just dust, but it kind of looks crusty on the top of it. What is this? 50.1 microfarad. That's interesting. The tracking doesn't seem to do much. It's all the way to one side, that's all the way to the other. Now, this looks really clean, but one of the heads is just full. Oh, there it is. Just full of noise. And the other one's clean. So this might actually even have worn heads. This might just be like a lost cause. Well, that's odd. This is an SLP recording. And one of the heads, you can see the chroma's going crazy. But the tracking noise isn't bad. It's just that chroma messiness. But on SP recordings, I get that same chroma noise. So I think it could just be depending on the strength of the recording, whether it manifests itself as issues with the chroma decoding there or actual tracking artifacts. Let me grab an SP recording again. Wow, I think did I lose color sync altogether? Wow. Oh, no, there it goes. So right now the color is just flashing. I don't know when I recorded this or on what. Let me see if I can get to sync. So there's oversaturated color on that field, and then absolute garbage on the other field. Now this is an SP recording. So what that's telling me is one of the fields is garbage with both SP and SLP, which is very good news because that means it's probably in the circuitry, which means I'm going to continue my futile efforts of making this machine work. Now, for those looking at this going, what a waste of money, why are you bothering? Like, I can hear those voices already. I don't know, man, I just want to make it live. And other than this capacitor here, every cap I've been putting into this is used. I've been pulling it from the boards of VCRs that were deemed trash for another reason, maybe mechanical, whatever. And those have a lot of good caps that are from good batches, unlike some of these. Let's see if you can see the little, oh, losing focus right there, that little green corrosion. Yeah, purple Panasonic. It's going to be a hard one to find, 47 microfarad bipolar. God dang. Yep, that's not 47. All right, shaky video time. I was just doing my bipolar cap replacement. This is 200 microfarad caps at 16 volts in series, negative to negative in the middle, which measures about 50, so it's a little high, but you know, it's a functional cap. I'm trying to do this with parts I have for free. But then I noticed this guy that I was just kind of pushing out of the way while doing this. And let's see if the camera can pick that up. Yeah, look at that. Digital zoom. Focus. So it's not just the purple Panasonics, it's also the dark blue ones. It's pretty much, this thing is a mess of bad capacitors. It is just, it's funny how some of these machines you find and go, okay, everyone rails and screams, you gotta recap the whole thing, and yet they work perfectly, and you spot test a few and they're all great. Just keep using it. And then you run into ones like this that it must be storage conditions or something, but they all just shit the bed. Like, I've seen that one. If I have capacitors in my free pile, I'm gonna throw them in there, but I mean, this is probably a futile effort. I just want to see this thing be able to play. Look at that. That is extra crunchy. Delightful. And just for fun, there you go. I'm assuming this is a 47. I actually didn't look at the value. Yeah, 47, 16 volts. So if you're not, without this visual cue that this capacitor is problematic, this won't really detect it. I miss my other cheap Chinese tester that I had before this one, because that one seemed to be a lot better at finding stuff. This one kind of sucks. This is what I would expect from these. The previous one that I foolishly put a charged capacitor in by mistake and cooked was really good, like surprisingly good. And I think this is just an example of a product gets designed and built that exceeds expectations. This exceeds expectations, at least the original one does. And there are so many knockoffs and counterfeits and cost-saving ones out there that to try and filter through the noise and find that same good one now is impossible, because it started out as a cheap, surprisingly good product. And now there's a million of them out there, and there's a lot of them that actually perform as expected, right? Just fine, I guess. Oh well. Anyway, I'm just going to record an outro for this video if I decide to shelve this VCR for a while. I think the two key areas on this that will need to be recapped essentially, or at least spot checked with the caps and finding the bad ones, are the servo circuitry for the head drum and probably the capstan, because those aren't locking in. You're getting the control track pulse, but it's not fully locking in. You're getting sort of a roll, and I'm just adjusting the free run, right? But the free run is what we're seeing. We're not seeing it lock into the control track signal. So you can get the free run as close as possible, but it'll still gently roll because the speeds are not perfect. The pause I don't really give a shit about. The second is the video head signals. So on both SP and SLP, one of the fields is weaker. Now that would normally condemn a VCR, but it's interesting that it happens in both speeds on a 4-head model. If it was a 2-head model, I would condemn it, or if it was only on one speed, which is what I thought it was, I would condemn it. But it seems to be on both. So in my rudimentary mind, that means that something after the control of switching the heads, right? The circuitry that selects which heads based on speed. After that, where it processes the fields, one of those has capacitors that have failed. And that's why it's weaker. The signal's not getting through, maybe. Now that's probably all behind this metal shield that's soldered on there. And it's also on the back side too. So that will be a pain in the butt if I decide to go in there, but I would have to, right? Because the picture sucks. So you've got that. The picture itself just generally has a lot of noise going on it, which, yeah, capacitors. And what really kind of turned me off was I was doing the sort of, the purple ones are probably bad, right? Well, no, it's possibly all of them. This is just a Panasonic capacitor problem. Case in point, this not purple, dark blue, corroded leaky cap. So this VCR is kind of like when I avoid all the Hitachis that have capacitor problems, because it's just like these aren't worth replacing every capacitor in these machines. They're not, unless this is like your baby, your gem, and you want it to last another 40 years, and you just, clean the inside, grab the service manual, do a full, like you must really care about this machine to do something like that, because electrolytic capacitors are not cheap, and this is full of them, and it is such a complex beast. It is such a nightmare. There are so many inner working components and things going on that there's a lot that can fail. That's why VCR repair shops existed, because these are so complex that like something's bound to fail. It's statistically more likely on one of these than on those modern ones with a single chip. And then you have all the corresponding passives that work on all those circuits. So this is a long-winded way of saying, and I hate doing this, but I think I'm going to call it. So if you see this video and you're disappointed, I'm sorry. I was really hoping that this would just be some belts. Generally, in my experience, I haven't found too many electronic problems on even Panasonics of this age. So this is what I keep hearing about, but I haven't experienced it yet. And just to give you an idea of the capacitor situation, I've gone through really just this board here. And you can see the red marks on any caps that I've either changed or checked and they were within spec and not leaking. So I've gone through not all, but some. And of those, these are all the ones that were bad or close to bad. Specifically, these 47 microfarad 16 volt caps. Both ones that I've found. See the corrosion coming out? Both of them are like that. You can do it. That one's really bad. I haven't been able to find a free service manual for either this VCR or the Panasonic equivalent of this range, this model year of VCR. So I don't have a direct service manual to go and say isolate and say, okay, I can scope out, follow the signal, find the area that handles this system, and at least just, get that area working. Obviously, this won't perform as well as it could with bad capacitors in it, but some are more critical than others, and there's probably some like really bad ones that are causing what we're seeing. But no service manual means I don't know exactly where to go, so I'm just sort of shotgunning replacement caps in. And ironically, these have made pretty much no difference at all to anything. It's acting exactly the same way as before. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it. So if anyone knows where to find a service manual for this, or any of the adjacent models I'm listing here, please let me know. And they hate to sound picky, but it's got to be free. I'm not willing to spend more money, like $25 US, on this sinking ship of a VCR. I just want to see if I have the service manual, if I can go and find those little specific capacitors that are maybe causing this problem. One silver lining is that if I do end up giving up on this machine, the switches on the push button varactor diode tuner are intact, and I have I can't remember if it was my Panasonic or my RCA. I've got two of essentially the same series, PV 1800 or 1780, I think, and the RCA next gen after this, the VGT, and one of them, the tuners are all busted up, which I was kind of upset about because otherwise it was quite nice. So worst case, I mean, I can always steal this if I decide to part this thing out. And just to close out, I know people are always going to ask, it's always in the comments, what about LP? Well, I recently found a copy of a movie. I have no experience of this movie at all. It's got some names I know, Goldie Hawn, Warren Beatty, but it's a very, very cheap release, and it's HGV, the same release as my other tape that is recorded in the LP mode. And this is a cheap tape. It is not even recorded in hi-fi stereo. So, store-bought LP tape. Let's go. Where's play? Here we go. Yeah, it's starting to... I don't have the free run exactly perfect, so it's gonna peel down. Oh. See, I can chase it with the tracking control. Whoa. Did it just pause? I think it paused. What? It's actually pausing. And actually, what? Oh, because it blanks the video with LP. Interesting. Maybe. Oh, yeah, there it is. Hold on. Yeah, rated R. Okay. Oops. I have a knack for this sort of thing. Anyway, on that note, thank you for watching. Bye.
Introducing AOL Canadian version 7.0, the easy way to get online.
It was very easy to get started on AOL.
Email is my favorite. It works in a snap.
It's easy to find information through the keywords, the news headlines that interest you the most.
Local Canadian sports from every angle.
Games, download music. With parental controls, I don't worry about my kids being online.